Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Jonathan Voico.
Good morning, everybody.
Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett.
Dude, it's game day today.
It is game day. We're going
Weapons at
to talk
3:15.
about weapons a little bit. 217.
Oh, you're gonna be in the theater before me.
217.
Harkins Mountain Grove. Buy me a drink at the bar.
Did you catch the actual start time?
3:15 for me.
217. The same
No,
time that the clocks are in weapons.
Which theater did that?
AMC theaters. So yes, my
it,
screening is
that's
officially
cool.
at 217.
217.
It's pretty cool. And of course, most importantly, guys, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a number of predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you guys have a thought, theory, opinion, issue you'd like us to discuss, as long as we deem it appropriate to be discussed on the show, we do reserve the right not to address it if we don't think it's appropriate. Go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. Now, here's the really good news about the tip link. It's actually good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you happen to be listening to our show on a podcast, say either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or your favorite podcasting app of choice, or if you're watching this show a little bit later in the day when we're not live, you can still send in a question. And if you happen to send one in when we're not live, well, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. With that all down, let's get things started with this. Weapons is opening today.
Oh, yeah.
217 is when I'm seeing it. 315 is when you're seeing it. Keep your guys' eyes open for my out of the theater reaction to it a little bit later today. If I really love it, I might even do an open spoiler discussion on Sunday about it, but we'll see how it does. So the question is, with all of its great reception and all that kind of stuff, horror movies don't typically have massive opening weekends. Typically. Of course, there are some outliers that do.
But based on their budgets.
But also based on their budgets.
They do well.
And fairly limited marketing. I mean, Weapons has been marketed well, but you can tell it didn't have a $110 million marketing budget or anything like that. And it's opening against a pretty high-profile film. As Variety has here, Freakier Friday is opening against it. And if you can look for my out-of-the-theater review of Freakier Friday at Hell Freezes Over. So, yeah. So, anyway, so it's opening up against Freakier Friday. And so the question is, how well will it do? Like we already know, it's insanely well received. It's now over 100 reviews. And the last time I checked, it now has, Rob, it's fallen all the way down to 98%. 98% is what Weapons has, which is amazing. So, how big can we expect it to open? Well, Variety writes this. It could be a close race for first place this weekend. The PG-rated Freakier Friday is projected to open to $27 to $30 million, while the R-rated Weapons is targeting a similar start of $25 to $30 million. The low end, Freakier Friday has a little bit higher of a low end, but the top end is exactly the same. Rob, if you had asked me 3 months ago, Weapons is going to be opening up against Freaky Friday, do you think it has a chance to open to number one? I would have said, oh God, no. No chance. Not going to do it. But two things have happened. Number one, Freakier Friday apparently is not going to open as big as I assumed it would. Again, this isn't a bad start for a $27 to $30 million opening weekend. Kudos to them. That's actually not bad. A few months ago, I would have thought that it would have opened a little bit higher, even though it's not a movie for me. And I think on a show earlier this week, I answered one of our viewer questions. And I think I said a few weeks ago, I see Weapons opening around 25. If they can get up to 30 or plus as an R-rated, modestly marketed, modestly budgeted horror film, that wouldn't be damn bad at all. Rob, does this movie actually have a chance of opening number one at the box office this weekend? How do you see it?
The smart money is probably on Freakier Friday.
Right.
You know, you've got that mother-daughter audience. You got the nostalgia bait, a movie that's, I mean, it was more than 20 years ago that the first Freaky Friday came out, before the troubles in Lindsay Lohan's life began. And she's got that Mean Girls vibe coming along with her. People love Lindsay Lohan and they love her classic era. However, John, don't bet against a great horror film. And I think that with the good buzz that Weapons has received, I am willing to not play the smart money. I'm willing to go for the long shot. I think Weapons is going to take the weekend.
Really?
I think Weapons is going to take the weekend. And by the way, I freely admit, I usually hit about 85% of the time. I'm going out on a limb just because, well, one, I want Weapons to win. I want auteurist horror to flourish. You know, between Oz Perkins and Zach Kreger and Ari Aster, who's sort of abandoned horror, and of course Robert Eggers, who also is, you know, needs to come back to his horror roots. Maybe, I mean, Nosferatu notwithstanding, he's doing the Wolfman movie. He's doing fine. I want to see my auteurist horror directors win, and I want to see Zach Kreger win, mostly because he has this thing that I would affectionately call the space movie that I want to see him make.
The space movie?
I'm just calling it, you know, all you need to know is it's the space movie. I just want that to happen. I want Weapons to win the weekend.
Well, you know, this year has been pretty good for some horror stuff, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're talking about Final Destination, which, I mean, yeah, if you just look at it in terms of big movies,
Big
it
money.
does look big, but for what it was, it did very well. Look at this, like Sinners.
Yep.
It came out and made, I believe it was 40 something million. Let me just double check.
By
this.
the way, do you know
$48 million Sinners made.
Sinners?
Now, and Sinners is by Ryan Coogler, who is a much bigger director name.
Auteurist horror.
Michael B. Jordan starring in it. Haley Steinfeld. I mean, and it's about vampires, something a little bit more relatable with the audience. That made 48. Listen, I'm going to go a little bit further than you on this, Rob. Not only do if I had to put $5 on it, you're right. The smart money is on Freakier Friday.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
It is. I think its ceiling isn't, in talking about Weapons, I don't think the ceiling's 30 million. I think the ceiling's 40.
Oh, I agree with you.
I think it could,
I'm with you
think it
100%.
could go up to 40.
I think you're right. And if you think about it, by the way, we also have to make note of the fact that our friend, producer Roy Lee, is an executive producer on this
Right.
movie. He was basically the guy who he was also on Barbarian, Zach Kreger's first film.
Yep.
And he brought us Companion. He also brought us Minecraft and How to Train Your Dragon. But I think Companion is the movie that should have got some big money. I think horror, that was what kicked off. People have discovered it on VOD and stuff. People love Companion. I think this movie is going to deliver the goods in a way that people are craving. This is a movie that people haven't seen before. They don't know what they're going to get. And I think word of mouth is going to carry it. And I think you're right. I think $40 million is, I see that. I see that in the rearview mirror.
And
see it.
what's her name? Julia
Garner.
Garner is going to have two films in
films-
theaters at the same time.
Two films.
She's going to have two films in the top 3 at the box office this weekend.
Yeah.
She's going to have Fantastic Four and she's going to have this. So good on her for that.
I mean, you just look at that box office. You know, every time the box office numbers tick up, Julia Garner gets that much more money in her deal.
She does.
Good for you, Julia.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. We're all very excited about Weapons, but how big can it actually come out at the box office? Can it actually win this weekend's box office over Freakier Friday? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, if you bring up the conversation of the best comedies ever on TV, maybe not always number one, but one of the shows that will always be any conversation that anybody ever has about it, The Office, is going to be one of those things in the conversation. Now, in recent couple of years, we've seen a number of Office relaunch, and there's some kind of Australian The Office sort of thing. There's another Office sort of thing, right? Well, now there's another one, and the trailer dropped today, and it is called The Paper. And the conceit of the show is this: that documentary team that made because remember the whole premise of The Office was there was a documentary team that spent 7 or 8 years in the office filming everybody. Then the series ends with them putting out that documentary. Well, that documentary team has come back to make their next documentary film. And instead of about a small little struggling paper company, it's about a small little local newspaper. And get this, Donald Gleason is taking the lead on it. And the trailer for it is dropped. Now look, when I looked at this, before I watched the trailer, and I read the basic idea, I said, neat idea, making it the successor to The Office. But come on. Other people are already trying it. It's time to move on from this.
Yeah, but they didn't have that documentary team, John.
Well, that's true. But my thought was, either give us a true The Office reunion or just leave this alone. Okay, that's my initial thought. Then I watched the trailer. And it's pretty good, man. It's actually pretty charming. And whereas The Office was kind of like poking a stick at the tropes of the ridiculousness of day in, day out, 9-to-5 office life and all that kind of stuff, this one seems to be finding the more modern tropes to be poking the stick at. And then they did a brilliant thing. They brought over one existing Office cast member, Oscar. Oscar is in the paper. And now he works at this local newspaper. And it's so great when he first pops up in the trailer and the camera goes to him and he looks up from his desk and he gets up, no, I am not doing this again. And all this kind of stuff. I thought, you know what, that was brilliant to bring over one existing cast member to really solidify this is in the same universe. And you got a guy like Donald Gleason leading it. Listen, I hate the idea, but I'm kind of looking forward to checking it out. It actually looks pretty clever. Anyway, Rob, what do you think about this whole idea of the paper?
I want the first episode to be about Jeff Bezos dictating their editorial policy, but it's not going to be that. But if it was, no, look, for me, you had me at the premise that it's the documentary crew. That's a brilliant, and it says on that ad, from the universe of The Office.
Right.
That in itself is hilarious. And I love the idea that The Office now is more about the documentary crew than it is about the people. No, but I love that. That to me is an inspired idea. You know what that tells me? I would watch this show simply because the idea behind it is great.
Yeah.
If they came up with that premise and they were able to sell that premise and they've executed on this show, did they get a full season commitment? Do they have a full 10 episodes?
I'm assuming they did. Yeah.
Good, then it means it's worth my time. So it might not be as great as The Office, but I bet it's pretty good.
Well, I mean, asking it to be as great as The Office,
right?
That's a rather
plus The Office, the
bar.
American Office was already following behind the brilliant British Office as well.
You know what? I'm one of the few people that I actually thought the North American version eventually exceeded the British version.
Yeah, and many people do. I mean, I don't think you're wrong about that. You know me, I was an Office virgin until you deflowered me. So,
we may have to revisit that Office Virgin thing at some point.
I was enjoying that. We watched 2 episodes. I've seen 2 episodes of The Office. That's what I've seen.
They were really good.
But I think this is gonna be great. They definitely have my interest, and I will tune in because I don't want to be a virgin of the paper.
The paper virgin.
The paper virgin.
Guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this little teaser for the paper? I have to admit, I didn't like the idea, and then I watched the teaser. I'm like, okay, I kind of want to watch this and see how it turns out. However you feel about it, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there.
John, when does it debut?
I do not know. I didn't notice. Jonathan, maybe you can look that up at some point and fire it in. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, Warner Brothers is a really interesting case study. And
September 4.
What's that?
September 4.
September 4th is when it launches. So Warner Brothers is a pretty interesting case study in the sense that when you look at where it is at the moment as a whole, as a company, it's clearly in a weakened state. The argument I make to people is that the fact that it is alive at all right now is nothing short of a miracle. When AT&T ran that company into the ground, by today it should have already been gone. On the trajectory it was on, it should have been gone and dead already. David Zaslav has saved that company up until now. Now, some people may look at some guy with bandages and a cast on his arm and 2 casts on both legs and on a walker, and you're saying, how can you say the doctor saved that guy? He's a mess. That guy literally fell out of an airplane, and everybody said he was dead. The fact that he's up and walking at all is a miracle. Maybe he'll get better, maybe he won't. But that's what David Zaslav has done. He has kept this thing alive when it should be dead. And over the past few months, we've seen some signs that maybe things are heading in the right direction. Well, according to the Hollywood Reporter, heading in the right direction they are. Warner Brothers Discovery adds 3.4 million streaming subscribers, but Minecraft and Sinners power the earnings. They go on to write about this. Warner Brothers Discovery reported second quarter earnings Thursday, turbocharged by its studio business, even as its streaming business continues on its growth trajectory and linear TV still struggling through environment. Now, of course, they're going to be separating out their linear TV stuff, but they go on to write this. The company reported revenue of $9.8 billion, up modestly from the same quarter a year ago, with net income of $1.6 billion compared to a loss a year ago. So now they're making billions in profit. And adjusted EBITDA $2 billion, up from 9%. The quarter was powered by the company studio's business and, to a lesser extent, streaming business, with studios revenue of $3.8 billion, up 55%.
Yo.
From a year ago, thanks to the performance of films like Minecraft and Sinners, as well as performance from the TV studios, thanks to the timing of some renewals, adjusted whatever was at $863 billion. Now, one of the things the article does also highlight is, like, while everything is going great here, 55% growth, $1.6 billion in profit as opposed to a loss last year, all that kind of stuff. The one area that the studio, or that the article highlights that it is still struggling, is linear TV.
What a surprise.
Yeah, what a surprise. Now, hasn't actually lost all that much because they refirmed up all their contracts with the carriers, but the numbers are down. And that's one of the reasons why they are now going to be separating the company. Now you're going to have Warner Brothers Studio, HBO Max, and then you're going to have the Discovery linear television stuff, CNN, TNT, all that kind of stuff, the parts that's struggling. They're separating out of that. But still, overall, Rob, there were a lot of people, including me, when AT&T was first announced that they were going to sell the company, that thought, and I'll just mention myself here, that doesn't matter who buys this company. Unless Disney buys it or something and just swallows it, this thing's dead. Just 2 years ago, year and a half ago, people were saying Warner Brothers is dead. They're going to be gone pretty soon. Whatever plan they have seems to be working. The ship has been turned around. I think now, does that guarantee next year we'll have equal growth? Nope. A lot of things can go wrong. A lot of things can go wrong. Remember, this is the same company, this ownership, not AT&T. This is the same company that took HBO out of the name of their streaming service and just called it Max. One of the stupidest things ever done. They could do something just as stupid. But anyway, these are pretty good numbers. Which of the numbers, like the streaming growth, the profit, the percentage growth, which of these things is standing out to you the most?
Well, to me, it begins with, if you have good product to sell to the consumer base or the viewers or the audience, you will make money. And Minecraft, whether you loved it or not, Chicken Jockey, don't ever discount what Chicken Jockey can bring you in terms of riches, because it brought them a lot, almost $1 billion. So I would say that Warner Brothers is, and David Zaslav, since he came in, he's not been there for like decades. He's fairly new to the Warner Brothers game. And putting people like, remember at the beginning of the year, Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca were on life support as far as their tenure.
According to the whispers,
Yeah, and then you look at what's gone on. Almost every month you had Sinners, you had Minecraft, you have F1 and Superman, even though Superman is DC Studios, but it's still under the Warner Brothers umbrella. You've got Weapons opening today. And so Warner Brothers, all of that content drives your other formats. I mean, HBO Max is going to benefit from these things. Sinners is on HBO Max now. So I would say that Warner Brothers is in a healthy place, and I think that they what David Zaslav wanted to do for somebody who knew nothing really. I mean, Discovery was a very profitable business, but
it was small, but it was profitable.
But the fact that they've realized it wasn't great to jam everything together, that's another, I think, great move that's going to benefit them. This split of the studio, however that's going to work out monetarily. I think it's good. I think that it shows that Zaslav's leadership, he made stupid mistakes, like the HBO thing you pointed out. That was like it was like, we're going to get rid of the name Coke. We're going to call it something else. Why would you do that? We're just going to call it The Real Thing. I mean, it was just stupid. And I think now they're pivoting what a good business does, and they're leaning into things. Look, the TV business is dead. It's just going to take a while to die.
Yeah.
And I think that network television is going to change. So I think what Warner Brothers is doing on a number of levels looks good to me. And as long as let's hope they keep winning in terms of their content that they're making. And as long as that is good, it'll drive success.
You know what? A big highlight to me of good leadership is not leadership that never makes any mistakes, because all leadership will. The question is, how do you manage the mistakes? Do you double down and refuse to admit you made a mistake?
Yeah.
Or do you, you guys have probably heard me use this phrase before. I didn't coin it, but I use it a lot, is, do you have a philosophy of fail quickly? In the sense, like, look, the HBO Max thing, we all knew that was stupid. Taking out the HBO name was stupid. So what did they do? In less than 2 years, or right around 2 years, they went, you know what? That was a mistake. We're going to correct it.
If they'd watched us closely,
they would have corrected it the next day. But you know what? They gave it a chance. They said, hey, we made this decision. Let's give it a chance. Clearly didn't work. Like we said, it wouldn't work. And so they said, instead of being stubborn about saying, no, I'm not. No, they said, you know what? We made a mistake. Let's correct it. They corrected it. The Discovery merger into Max was something that I thought on paper was a decent idea, because I love watching Discovery and I loved watching Max, so I loved having both in the same place. So while I hated the removal of HBO, I kind of liked that one.
Yeah.
But you know what? Doesn't matter if you like the idea. You gave it a couple of years and you saw this didn't work. So instead of just digging in your heels and saying, let's make it work, you go, this idea didn't work. Let's move on from it. And now they're separating it out. That's what good leadership does. You're in all the million decisions you make in a year, a certain percentage of them are bound to not work out. The question becomes, how do you then manage those mistakes? Do you double down on them? Do you just exasperate them? Do you make them worse? Or do you just simply step them back and make corrections? And the fact that they're doing that, geez, I saw somebody in the live chat mention this. I still remember when they canceled Batgirl.
Right.
And everybody said, this is going to kill the studio. It's like, no, they probably actually saved the studio by canceling Batgirl. Anyway.
But I would say they also made, look, the fact that Acme versus Coyote or Coyote versus Acme was sold to ketchup. And
right.
while the Looney Tunes movie didn't set the world on fire, I think Coyote versus Acme is going to probably, in my mind, it's going to be a hit. I'm really curious to see where their partnership with Apple's going to go. Because Apple's made F1. They spent a lot of money on it. They had a lot of great brand deals, and Warner Brothers came along and said they partnered up to release it. Like Apple, they spent over $200 million for Killers of the Flower Moon, and what did that get them? But F1 is, and
don't forget Napoleon
and
what
well.
that get? But they didn't give up on it.
No,
and they followed through and they made F1, and it's been a windfall.
And you had F1 is a Jerry Bruckheimer production.
Yeah.
And you have one of the greatest F1 drivers of all time was also a producer on that movie. And I think that Apple itself realized, oh, you mean we don't have to make movies at a loss? We can actually make our money back? I mean, that says a lot. Now, I don't think they're going to want to spend as much money as they spent on F1 on every one of their movies, but it's a great business decision, and Warner Brothers might have just got themselves a hell of a partner, because if they're working in tandem now with Apple, I think that could only bolster. You've got basically two studios working through one, and if DC Studios continues to do well, Warner Brothers has two theatrically minded producers in Apple and in DC Studios that are feeding into its bottom line. That's pretty impressive if they can continue that kind of growth, because they didn't include F1 or Superman in these numbers.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What stands out to you most about these numbers? Streaming growth, overall like 55% growth on the studio side, 1.6 billion in profit operating as opposed to a loss that they took last year. Everything seems to be going in the right direction. They're not there yet. Warner Brothers is not a healthy patient yet. It's still in ICU, but I mean, things are looking good. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Continuing on the topic of Warner Brothers. As a part of the big kind of announcements and everything they did about the revenue and whatnot, they also talked about their upcoming plans for the studio, for Warner Brothers Studio, including their branch studios, DC, New Line, what have you. And they have now come out and said, they have officially said, they are targeting 12 to 14 theatrical releases annually across its 4 key labels: Warner Brothers Pictures, DC Studios, New Line Cinema, and Warner Brothers Animation, going forward as the company takes a victory lap following the super second quarter at the box office. In a letter to shareholders accompanying his latest financial results, the company, led by CEO David Zaslav, said the releases will include 1 to 2 Warner Brothers Pictures tentpole based on well-known Warner Brothers IP, 1 to 2 DC Studio films, which we'll talk more about a little bit later, 3 to 4 New Line Cinema releases, including horror and comedy, and 1 to 2 animation titles, and a select number of moderately budgeted original films. Couple things stand out here to me. Again, we're going to not really discuss the DC thing because we're going to talk about the DC thing in a minute. But focus on this. Number one, they are looking to continue on with a higher than 1 film per month average at the box office. They want a robust release schedule. It's interesting how they're divvying this up. I'm curious to know, what do they consider 1 to 2 tent poles based on popular Warner Brothers IP? So I'm curious, big sequels to previous films, because obviously it's not including DC or anything like that. I love that they're going to focus 3 to 4 New Line Cinema releases. I love that. I mean, because when they're talking about we're going to focus on horror and comedy, God, we already talked about Sinners was theirs, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about Sinners. Final Destination Bloodlines was something they distributed. That was, I mean,
in one fell swoop, they resurrected a moribund franchise that they can make more of.
Yeah, exactly. Like they resurrect,
and they don't have to use a number. They just have to call it Final Destination something.
Whatever. I didn't give a crap about this movie because I don't really like the franchise. And then we saw the previews for it at CinemaCon. And we're like, oh my God, this looks amazing. And it did super well. So that's great. And also the idea that they're going to continue on with Warner Brothers Animation. They're going to be targeting 1 to 2 every year. Is Cat in the Hat theirs?
Yes.
It is.
I think it is.
So Cat in the Hat's going to be one of the things. I'm not really interested in Cat in the Hat, but even I got to admit the trailer looks pretty fun and clever.
Funny. Thing 30, what, 32?
Thing 3.5, whatever. So that looked pretty cute. So anyway, 12 to 14 films a year. Rob, aside from the DC one, when you're looking at this, what do you think about that number as a whole, the way it's broken down? What's your takeaway?
I think it's great. I think it's great. And you know what, John, I would offer, I'm going to say right here, right now, live. I produced a movie for Warner Brothers.
Yes, you did.
It came out in 2009 called The Hills Run Red. And back then, Warner Premiere, which, by the way, they should resurrect, was going to do 10 original horror films or based on IPs with Silver Pictures. They only did 2. Ours was the only original one they did. And then they killed the program. And these are movies that were going to be made for $5 million and under. Kind of like what Blumhouse did. I think they should come back to me. We should start a new label, John. You and I start a new label where we do Warner Premiere. We do new films from new directors, $5 million and under, like what Blumhouse did. If they're good enough, we release them theatrically. That's self-serving. But you're asking a question about what Warner Brothers is doing with their slate. I think it's fantastic because, look, if you committing means you're thinking about it. You're like, okay, this is what we are going to do. We're promising theaters. So they're expecting. We're promising filmmakers. We're promising the business. As LA is dying, Warner Brothers is staking a claim. I would go even further and say we're going to make these movies locally. As many as they can. They can't, F1, they travel around the world. They can't.
You can't just make that in LA.
But I would say that Warner Brothers, you know what Warner Brothers has? a whole studio backlot with, I'll bet, a bunch of empty sound stages. I mean, right there, they could bolster and turn. By the way, that was the first place I had a regular job in the industry, was on that Warner lot. They could turn that whole place into a beehive of activity, well, I mean, and internalize everything.
And then you know this, and unless they plan on just changing these to commercial, you do the old switcheroo. The old Warner Brother Ranch is now nothing but sound stages.
Yeah, right. And you know, they should absolutely do that. So I think what they're doing is great. The same way that Amazon committed through MGM, their MGM Studios, they committed to a certain number of theatrical releases every year. I mean, the theatrical business has proven, if nothing else, over the last 6 months, that it is still robust if you give people movies that they want to go see. So I think that Warner Brothers, by saying we're not only guaranteeing these movies, we're guaranteeing them over a wide variety of genres, kinds of films. We're gonna make movies for everybody, you know, through these different things. And they're committing to animation, they're committing to horror and comedy, they're committing to big budget IP releases. I think this is great. I think this is fantastic. Although it'd be even better if they added that fifth thing that we will run. We're gonna resurrect Warner Premiere. $5 million horror movies.
Well, you heard it. We won't say who. We happen to know a certain Warner Brothers executive who does watch our show. So there you go. Make it happen.
Go see The Hills Run Red.
Hand it to us.
It's on Scream Factory.
We'll make you millions. We'll make you dozens of dollars.
We will. No,
dozens of dollars.
Don't say that. Don't say that. 5 million or less.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? They got a pretty robust plan of 12 to 14 films per year, which, I mean, is equivalent to what they put out in some other years and stuff like that. I think it's great. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? In the previous story, we were just talking about how Warner Brothers is planning 12 to 14 films a year, 3 to 4 New Line films, 1 to 2 tentpole Warner Brothers Pictures films. But one of the things that they mentioned was 1 to 2 DC movies. 1 to 2. This is the first kind of executive level pronouncement that we've had about the type of output we can expect from James Gunn and Peter Safran's cinematic universe. Now, James Gunn has in the past made reference to, we are going to be quality over quantity. We are not going to rush out tons of projects. We are not going to overstretch ourselves, because you got to remember, he is very good friends with Kevin Feige. He watched close up Kevin Feige overextend himself and get overextended. And then it got even worse after James Gunn left, when, Chapek came in and blah, blah, blah. And that really got out of the hand. He's saying, we're not going to see, because somebody once asked James Gunn, how many movies are you going to put out per year? He goes, I'm not going to answer that. We're going to put out movies when we have a movie that's ready to go.
Paul Masson, no wine before it's time.
It's time. That's how we're going to do it. And for him to look back, because, I think Marvel was firing on all of its cylinders the most when it had like 3 films coming out per year. Now, we all started to go, uh-oh, when they started like announcing, what was the one year where they had like 9 projects come out? They had so many movies, so many TV shows on Disney Plus, and it was like a madhouse. Now, the 1 to 2 films obviously doesn't count maybe shows like Lanterns. So I'm sure they'll maybe aim for 1, maybe 2 shows per year. But look, the fan side of me, Rob, goes, I want as much DCU content as I can get. But I also saw what happened over at Marvel once they were told, make as much content as we can pump out. And it went bad. I love right now that this is sitting in that spot where James Gunn said they were going to do. It's like, we only think we can put out the highest quality product at this rate per year. And I love that. Now, look, maybe 3-4 years down the line, they expand their team, and James Gunn is like, we feel like we're just sitting around a lot now. We feel like we have got this thing down. We feel like we have the infrastructure and the people and all that kind of stuff. Maybe now we can make 2 to 3 per year. Maybe that happens somewhere down the line. But for them to come out and say, hey, this is what you can expect from us. Sure. 1 to 2, because we are going to focus on our quality. We're not going to rush anything out. We're not going to announce release dates until we have fully completed scripts, all that kind of stuff. And the result is 1 to 2 films per year. Part of me a little bit disappointed, because after seeing Superman, I want all that shit that I can get. But at the same time, I want it at that quality. So anyway, Rob, you're here now, Warner Brothers saying officially, DC is going to do 1 movie per year to 2 movies per year. Good idea, bad idea, pros, cons. How do you see it?
Well, I think, look, the fact that James Gunn stated the most important thing, we're only going to make the scripts that we feel are ready, which we know is the exact opposite. Even Marvel, when they made Iron Man 1, it was a very iterative process. You can listen to Jeff Bridges tell the story about how they were rewriting on set, which I understand because Favreau, the director, is a writer himself. Look at a movie like Swingers, you know? So that makes sense to me that you have an auteur director. I don't think he wrote the script for Iron Man, but he's a writer himself. He's a deft, clever writer. So that makes sense to me. But making 1 to 2 movies a year in the DCEU, first of all, it makes it sort of prestigious. You know, they're not going to do a flurry of this stuff. And if they did 1 to 2 movies and maybe 1 to 2 TV shows, that's pretty cool. And I would say there you go, and you know you're getting a sort of an artisanal, a crafted group of here's a universe that is at least curated by one man at the top of the studio. He's handpicking creators to make what he thinks are the best scripts possible. I think that's a great idea. I think that's a fantastic way to do business. I wish that Star Trek would do that.
Do you see any downside though? Like any potential downside?
Well, if they become really successful, the studio's going to be like, well, this movie made $1 billion and that movie made $1 billion. Can't you make us another one? I mean, look, that is the as wise men and women have said in the business, the problem with Hollywood is the fact that there really is not a lot of great material. You'd think, look, I know in the 90s I was a reader. I was a story analyst and I worked for CAA, William Morris. I worked for producers. I worked at studios, Silver Pictures. I would say that 1 script out of 100, if that was good. In my entire career as a reader that spanned about 5 years, I only said yes to 1 script. And that was Andy Kevin Walker's 7. And I read that in 1990 and the movie didn't come out till 95. Of all the garbage that I read. Now I read other scripts that got made like Copycat, you know, with Sigourney Weaver and Holly Hunter. That was good. Face Off. Very different version than I read, but there were scripts that I read that were good. But for the most part, Judge Dredd. I was the first person to read that William Wisher's Judge Dredd script. But and that was a very different movie because they added comedy relief to it. And John Woo was going to be they submitted it to John Woo. Did
I ever tell you about because I used to have to review and read scripts. Did I ever tell you about the worst one that I ever had to read?
No.
Oh God. Okay.
So, I know what mine is too.
Okay, let me tell you mine. Then I want to hear yours. So for this production company, they hand me this script. Say, like, take a look at this. Give us your notes.
I can't wait.
I kid you not. The name of it was Canes. Canes.
Canes.
Yes.
Not like the Chicken Fingers place.
No, not like Chicken Fingers. So it's like, okay. Nice title. I read it. This was not a comedy. This was a dead serious thriller. So the basic idea of Canes is that it starts with a guy kind of investigating a mysterious death of this guy. And the only thing found in the room was no death weapon of murder, nothing like that, just a cane. Which was funny because there's nothing physically wrong with that guy who died. Anyway, the long and short of it is there's a secret cabal of supernatural living canes, who literally canes, like the canes you used to walk. Yeah. So they imagine them talking to each other in like, what was the name of that movie where it was like all these judges meet together secretly at night to pass judgment?
The Star Chamber?
Star Chamber. It's like this Star Chamber of canes who over the course of centuries you see these, and the pictures of like, who was the big UK prime minister during the World War?
Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill. Like pictures of Churchill and pictures of other world leaders with canes. It's like, oh my God, they've infiltrated every part of our culture and ever, and they're secretly diabolically these living canes to take over the world. And it's not just that the idea is stupid; everything in it was stupid. It's like the single worst thing ever. And I remember I didn't even write a note. I'm supposed to do this report on it, right? You know,
coverage.
You're supposed to do the coverage report. And I'm like, I didn't even write a note. I just wrote no. It's like, anyway, what was the worst one you ever read?
Okay, I say this as a Jew myself. The worst script I've read. First of all, there are things, if there are 3 Brads in scripts, never read. A third Brad is unprofessional. 12-point Courier, maybe you can have it bold or underlined. But if that's not on the cover of script, you know it's going to be bad. And I used to read for CAA, and you had to read unsolicited scripts. You had to take like 2 open a weekend. And there was this pile you never wanted to take from, but you had to. And if you didn't get into this agency at 9 a.m. Friday morning, you were left with the worst of the worst.
Right.
So I think I was there, and there was only one script remaining on the table. And it had a picture drawn on it of a stereotypical Jewish guy. And the title of the script was The First Jewish Evangelist. And the script was about the wall that divided heaven and hell was crumbling. So heaven needed to find a Jew to run a telethon to raise money to repair the wall between heaven and hell.
Well, it's a good thing the wall wasn't falling apart like in the 1400s when there was no telethons you could have done. Because they would have been screwed. Heaven would have been screwed.
Dude, I mean, dude, I read the script, and the thing is, I still have that script somewhere.
Oh my God.
And by the way, if you wrote that script, I would love to interview you. Because, oh my God.
Oh, I just realized we're supposed to be talking about DC's film output.
Right.
I think both of you guys missed huge opportunities. One, you could have then used Heaven is a Place on Earth for your movie. And then you, John, could have had an opportunity for the sentient microphone.
That's right.
Oh,
I'm just saying, you guys missed out.
maybe that's where
right.
you actually got the idea.
Felipe, the sentient, oh, there he is. Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone on my John Campea figure. There he is. Anyway, back to DC. Back to DC, of course.
Short-sighted,
But this
you guys.
really, the 1 to 2 thing really does highlight again the real commitment. Because look, we're used in this business to hearing directors, executives say the right things, but they don't actually do it. It was great when we heard James Gunn say, we're going to emphasize quality over quantity. We're not going to greenlight anything or announce release dates until we have a fully completed script. Okay, those are the good things to say. But what did we say last year? We said, okay, that sounds good, but are they actually going to do it? And it looks like he's actually doing it.
Well, and also, this is a publicly traded company. So if you're saying something like this, it means shareholders are going to look at that. They're going to look at Warner Brothers' performance. I mean, if you're a shareholder of Warner Brothers stock and you're interested in movies, you've got to be happy. Companion should have made $50 million, and that was a New Line film. But Warner Brothers has had hit after hit after, like, every month. They've had hits. Weapons opens today, and we're projecting another hit.
Yeah.
Dude, hours.
Yep.
Go Warner Brothers.
All right, guys.
Woohoo!
Question is for you. What do you think about this? James Gunn and DC, apparently supported by David Zaslav, are saying that their output schedule for theatrical films is going to be just 1 to 2 per year. Good thing, bad thing, pros, cons, whatever you guys think about that, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? I shall call this segment Campea's Triumph. Well, maybe. You guys will know that one of my biggest, for many years since the movie blog, my big cause was getting theaters in North America to start having pre-assigned seats. And eventually we got there. My next thing, and has been for years now, is stop showing so many ads and trailers before a movie starts. You are lessening the movie-going experience, and you'll wonder why fewer and fewer people keep coming to the theaters. Well, apparently, the shouting has finally gotten through. According to Deadline, AMC Theaters looks to shorten pre-show windows following studios' ire coming from the dish. By the way, I first was made aware of this story because I got a text message yesterday from Robert Meyer Burnett, and at first, I get the buzz, so I look at my watch. The watch won't show you attached things. It just says, and I look at my watch, and it just says, Rob says,
Bruh.
You won. I'm like, what? Then I picked up my phone, I looked at the article, and it was this article. Anyway, the Deadline article says this, exclusive.
By the way, they say studio's ire. No.
Well,
it's John Campea's
I've
ire.
got something I'm going to show you in a second.
Oh, cool.
So Deadline writes this. After some major studios clutched their pearls over AMC's decision to book even more ads before each movie's showtime, sources are telling us that the number one circuit, AMC Theaters, is working to shorten its pre-show. It's still early and specific details are unknown, but there's hope that a shave can be done by the year's end.
Hell yeah.
News leaked back in June. Remember how happy I was about this. Back in June, that as of July 1st, AMC had hammered a deal with National Cinemedia Inc. to run spots during each movie's pre-show, specifically platinum spots. Anyway, they added another ad to the already overly long ads. Execs at the major studios began throwing furniture, metaphorically, angry that moviegoers no longer were sitting through their in-cinema trailers for future movies due to how long the pre-shows are. A very powerful piece of marketing as moviegoers begets moviegoing. All right. One of the biggest arguments that we have made against such long pre-shows, because we want to show the trailers for the movies that are coming. One of the problems is nobody's going to watch them now. Or as, Gray Drake, our friend, once said, you don't even remember which trailers you saw.
Yeah.
Or as the head of Paramount at Cinema said that. Remember, the head of Paramount at CinemaCon said just a couple of years ago, he said, movie theaters, please shorten the number of trailers because people don't remember the trailers they're watching now. And it's gotten to the point that more and more people don't even walk into the theater now until about 5 minutes before the actual movie starts because they know there's just a half hour of trailers. So in trying to force more trailers on people, you've actually made it so less people are watching the trailers. Anyway, about 15 minutes after I got that text from you saying you won, I got an email from somebody at AMC.
Really?
Yes. That said this. What they're not mentioning in the piece, first of all, they give me the link to the same article. It says, what they're not mentioning in the piece is how much your rants about our pre-show policies get passed around here.
Wow.
Gotcha.
So I was right.
So you
right.
Won. I'm going to take full credit. It's all because of me. I'm the Donald Trump of movie punditry. Something good happened. It was me. I did it. When you go and watch a movie at AMC Theater and it's 3 minutes less of trailers, thank me. No, I'm sure I had very little, if anything, to do with it. But
I don't know. You got him. Look, it doesn't matter. You have enough that you can say.
That's right.
You've got enough evidence. That you can say,
did this.
You did this.
See, don't let your mother saying just whining and bitching on YouTube will never accomplish anything. Mission accomplished, Mom. So
I wish that was true of Star Trek.
That's 3 Star Trek references today for those.
I know. I keep slipping them in.
Anyway, look.
That's what she said.
I love movie trailers. I even made a documentary. Jonathan worked on it with me. So did Rob.
I was in it.
We made a movie trailer, a movie about movie trailers that, by the way, for those of you who are our channel members, we actually put Movie Trailers, A Love Story, our documentary, up on YouTube exclusively for our for our channel members. It's there for any of you guys to go and watch it. And in about a month, I'm going to put it out wide on YouTube. We'll even do a premiere of it, and we'll do a watch along with it for those of you who are interested. We're going to do that in a bit. But so I love movie trailers. I do. But there is such thing of too much of a good thing. And when you tell audiences that movies start at 7 and they book a babysitter and they do all that kind of stuff, and then they come to the theater and they look at their watch and it's like 7:30 and the movie still hasn't started, that is bad for the movie business. It's bad for your customers. It's bad for the movie business. And now even the studios are saying, guys, nobody's watching our trailers anymore because they know the bullshit you pull in your theaters. Can you please stop it? Anyway, Rob, you were the one who made me aware of this story. So other than the great accomplishment that I have achieved single-handedly,
You
me
did.
alone,
You got to own that.
what did you take away from this?
Well, look, I think it's a good thing. I look, I just read an article about how the Cinerama Dome Theater has been closed for 5 years. My favorite theater in LA.
Sad, right?
I can't believe it's been that long.
It's just insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. And the ArcLight would specialize in like 3 trailers and the movie starts. No ads, 3 trailers. And I knew as part of my experience, I would see 3 trailers. I would go so far as I think studios should release trailers exclusively in theaters for 2 weeks before they put them online. Because there's nothing I like more, and it doesn't happen very often, when I see a trailer.
For the first time.
For the first time. When I go to Weapons, maybe there's going to be a trailer for something that I haven't seen yet. I love seeing a trailer on the big screen. It's an extra added juicy nugget that you get from the theatrical. There you go, the inside of it. Look at the, oh man, why?
So I missed the beehive.
Why are you going to make me cry now? I'm going to cry.
There.
Just cry. Oh man, 5 years on LA Landmark.
I used to love going
but
there.
I think this is a great.
I loved going there too.
I think this is a great thing. I love the ArcLight in general. I know they want to bring it
You know
back.
what the last thing? Not at the ArcLight, but at the Cinerama Dome. That is part of the ArcLight.
Yeah.
The last thing I ever saw in the Cinerama Dome was a special screening of Tootsie with Dustin Hoffman doing a Q&A after the film. That was the last thing I got to see in the Cinerama Dome before ArcLight closed.
Wow.
So heartbreaking.
How cool. By the way, that movie's so great.
Oh, Tootsie's
one of the great movies of
greatest all
1982.
time. So good.
That's the Scott Manson me. 82.
It was nominated for Best Picture, I believe.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Which doesn't happen for comedies.
No, and that film is so great. Terry Garr, rest in peace. She was in that. She's so good. Anyway, but I think it's a great
AMC ads.
Look, AMC, if they're going to cut down ads, we get to see how quickly we get distracted. No, I think it's a great move, but I do think I don't ever want to lose the emphasis on trailers. But playing more than 4 is probably, I think that's the ceiling. That's the best. I mean, like when they play 5, I forget what was the first trailer they played. So I think this is only a good thing. And it just, again, I get the added revenue that ads bring. I understand that.
But it's actually, that's the thing. It's actually not that much.
I know. And why don't they put up kiosks that, like the Harkins Theater has kiosks all around, and they got a giant screen above their at the Harkins 16 above their concession stand that's playing ads and stuff. Why don't they do that? So more people see them. I mean, by the way, people are tuned out to ads when they're playing in an actual auditorium. People are looking at their phones, but people watch trailers. They don't
because the lights
ads.
go down and everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? AMC is finally, at least now that the studios are yelling at them too, maybe they're starting to realize that, oh yeah, just by cramming more ads, it's not actually doing anything because people are avoiding watching them now. Whereas when we went to places like ArcLight, where they had a rule of 3 trailers in the movie, we remembered every single trailer that played, and it was just that much.
You anticipated them.
You look forward to them. Now, how much are they going to cut it back? 1 minute, 3 minutes, 12 minutes? Can we dare? Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? One of my absolute favorite movies of the year so far has been Superman. I love that movie, man. I have so much fun with it. Ann and I, we saw it more times in theaters than any other movie this year. Maybe Fantastic Four will catch up. Ann and I just saw our 3rd screening of Fantastic Four. I still think the best movie of the year is Sinners, but Superman is right up there. One of my favorites. I love what they did. And it was the byproduct of a great decision by James Gunn as the co-CEO of DC Studios to step in and for the first movie write and direct it himself. Set the tone, set the pace, set the bar for everything that needs to come after it. And I applaud it and I love that decision. What I'm a little bit apprehensive of, though, is James Gunn writing and directing too much, because writing and directing a movie is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all encompassing, completely possessing job. And he's got another job running a studio, being the creative head of an entire studio. And I need him focusing on that. As a fan, I want him focusing on shepherding the whole thing. Write and direct every once in a while, but not often. Well, David Zaslav, head of Warner Brothers, has now confirmed that James Gunn, according to Variety, is going to write and direct the next Superman movie, which they are calling a super family movie. Now, you guys might remember that James Gunn's been a little bit coy about this. He goes, yeah, maybe the next time you see Superman, maybe it will be a Superman movie, maybe not so much. Like, oh, what's that going to be? But then we talked about his interaction on his Threads account where somebody said, hey, when are you going to start talking about when he's going to start teasing the sequel to Superman. He said, I just did, talking about how he's going to be writing the next script. But what David Zaslav is calling is a super family. This is what the article actually says. James Gunn will write and direct the next installment in the Super Family, Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav confirmed during the company's earnings call. Gunn had previously said in various interviews during the Superman press tour that he was writing a new movie featuring David Cornsweat's Superman in it, although he always remained coy about whether it was a standalone Superman sequel or something else. Zaslav provided no clarity there, opting to say the next movie in the Super Family, but it's news that Gunn will direct the movie in addition to writing the screenplay. He served the same dual roles for Superman. All right. Let's talk about the movie itself. For the movie itself, as a massive fan of James Gunn, and I have been for a long time, especially ever since Slither.
Yeah.
I mean, he was making fun stuff before that, but Slither was the one that put James Gunn on my map. And it's still my favorite James Gunn film. It's amazing. If you guys haven't seen Slither, check it out. So good. Just absolutely phenomenal. I love it. As a massive James Gunn fan, I am excited about the notion of a new James Gunn film, particularly with Superman. Because, man, I'm not kidding. Every day, 2 or 3 times a day, I catch myself just singing to myself, I'm a punk rocker, yes I am. All day. I have Superman in my brain. I love this film. So good. So I love that idea. I really do. However, there's also the film industry fan in me, which is I really need James Gunn focusing on his real job.
Yeah.
Which is shepherding and guiding the entire DCU. Because when he's writing and directing a movie, he ain't got time for anything else. And that's great for launching the first film. It's even great if he waits to direct the first Justice League movie they do, whenever that happens. But I am concerned that no matter how great you are, and I think James Gunn is pretty damn great, he's still just human. And I do have major concerns that something will give. When you try to do 2 different things that require 100% of your attention, something's going to give. And I'm a little bit concerned about that. Now, as far as the movie itself goes, when they start saying the Super Family, a lot of people wondering is World's Finest next? No, it's a Superman, Supergirl movie. I personally, no insider information. This is just me as a fan speculating. To me, it is clear. The next Superman movie is a team-up movie. It's him and Supergirl. They're referring to the Superfan and Krypto, of course. Krypto will be there. Unless Krypto dies in Supergirl, which I don't think will happen. You're going to have Superman, Supergirl, and Krypto, and that'll be it. And that's going to be the Super Family movie they're talking about. And if it is, I'm all for it. Can't wait to see it. Maybe Lobo will be in it too. Who knows? But yeah, film fan in me loves it. Film industry fan in me, little concerned, going to be honest. And what do I think it's going to be? I think they're talking about Superman, Supergirl team-up movie. Maybe they'll call it House of L, the movie, or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, Rob, there's a lot to unpack here. You heard this story. What's standing out to you?
Well, and James Gunn has spoken about this. One of my favorite things growing up was DC used to put out 100-page giant-size specials, Superman Family being one of them, because there were comics like Darkseid originally debuted in Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. And they produced Superman Family comics, 100, like this one right on screen. And they were usually a combination of reprints and new stories. And I loved them. And James Gunn has talked about those 100-page giant-size specials. I remember, I think it was Justice League 114. That was a 100-page giant-size special that reprinted all of the Earth 3 with the evil. There was the only superhero on Earth 3 was Lex Luthor, and there was Ultraman and Power Ring and Owlman, and that's it. There it is. That comic book was my favorite comic book of all time.
Good job, Jonathan.
When I was a kid. And the Earth 3 storyline, when Crisis on Earth 3, that was when the Justice League and Justice Society teamed up against the crime syndicate. And it was the greatest thing. I mean, look at that cover. Who doesn't love that? And just like the Superman family, I mean,
Such a cheesy looking gun, just the hand like pew pew.
come on,
Little
man,
gun
don't
coming
say
down.
that. This was the
that's a bad
single.
thing.
When I was a kid, this was the 60 cents for 100 pages. My God, this is the greatest comic book I owned. I had the Justice League was my jam, but this particular comic, I must have read this comic 100 times because it had the Justice League and the Justice Society and it was amazing. But that's what James Gunn's going for. So the Superman family includes Lois, it includes Jimmy Olsen, but it could include, there's the Superman of the Justice Society that we've never met, because I'm curious, Mr. Terrific led the Justice Society
Yes.
for a long time. And post-crisis, the Justice Society and the Justice League existed on the same Earth. So are we going to see that? I don't know. But I would love to see, because there was a Superman, the Earth 2, where the original Jay Garrick Flash came from, and the Superman, they were like 20 years behind us. And that's why there was a discrepancy.
Yeah.
I'd love to see James Gunn do that.
Here's a question for you.
2 Supermen.
He's referring to Super Family,
Yeah.
right? We've heard that we do know one of the projects they're looking at doing, although there's been no movement on it, is a Teen Titans.
Yep.
Could Super Family also include a Superboy?
100%. And
Think so?
If you look at Star Labs or Camden or any of the different Superboy, I mean, that could absolutely.
Because
be
we already
part of
know
it.
Lex has already cloned Superman, so Superman can be cloned.
Yeah.
So do they do it the same way where Superboy is a young clone of Superman? Do they say it where do they change it up and say this is another Kryptonian survivor? Do they say he is literally the son of Superman from a future that's come back, aka Cable or something? I don't know. What do you think the approach
I
would
think
be?
they could do all different kinds of things. I think everything is opened up. And I think that the Superman and Lois show, one of the great things about it was that Superman trying to be a father, it doesn't matter how powerful he is, that doesn't make him a better father or not.
Yeah.
And having a mentor, a teacher, a student relationship it always makes, I mean, look, if someone said to me that there was going to be a Dead Poets Society or a Goodwill Hunting vibe where Superman is the Robin Williams teacher character, I'd be like, count me in.
Yeah.
Why not?
I like what they did. Okay, so what about my concerns? Because and I love having you here for this discussion. I've directed movies, but on smaller scales. On a smaller scale. As a director yourself and a writer.
Well, it's all encompassing.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you are writing and directing a movie, let's go back to the film you did with William Shatner.
Right.
Okay.
The only film I've directed.
When you did with on that scale.
Yeah.
Because you've directed a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But when you directed Free Enterprise with William Shatner, how much free time did you have?
0, because I was also editing the movie too. It was. I know I had 0. And the funny thing is even when you're writing a script, it is all encompassing. You're never away from it. You're thinking about it 24/7, and it's very hard to focus. I mean, if you're a head of a studio, you compartmentalize your time. You literally are counting out the minutes and seconds. You're like, okay, I'm gonna get to work at 8 o'clock, and I'm gonna work until 10 a.m. And at 10 a.m., I'm going to schedule meetings from 10 a.m. to 1. And at 1, I'm going to have a half an hour or hour-long lunch, maybe a half an hour lunch and a half an hour lunch meeting or whatever. And then you're compartmentalizing your time. But then I don't know. And if you're going to write, maybe you write from 4 to 8 and have dinner. I mean, if you're going to structure your life that way, but not when you're directing a movie. When you're directing a movie, you don't have time.
Let me bring up another example with you. Not even on the scale of a full motion picture. When you were producing and making True Noir,
Right.
your audio drama,
Which I also edited.
which took forever for you to do.
Yeah.
You literally didn't even have the time. There was like a year-long, almost. Oh, I can't remember the.
It was.
Let
I
me
was
say
gone.
about a year.
So yeah, I left this show. I was gone from June through December.
So you were gone for a while because you literally didn't have the time to come in and just do this show, let alone another full-time job.
No, and what was really interesting about that is I had 25 actors. That let's just assume that was just during the week. Each actor was a day. Sometimes I had more, but then I would go back and you have to edit. And that show is 4.5 hours. Totally, it's 4.5 hours long. So I directed it, edited it, produced it all. And it was It was all encompassing. Like I didn't think about anything else really for 6 months. I did YouTube shows when I could, but literally I was doing YouTube shows from the same place that I was editing from. So it wasn't, it was rough because you don't have any time to think about other things. You really don't. And running a studio, I don't know. I mean, if he like right now he's writing for James Gunn, he knows how to write scripts. So before he goes into pre-production or whatever, maybe he's taking time now, 6 months off. He'll still write, but he'll take 6 months off to spend on studio business, tee up everything, and then he goes back into directing, which makes sense because if they're only going to make 2 movies a year and TV shows, that's manageable, I think, because he gets everything ready to go and then passes it off to other people that are going to write.
By the way, some people bring up, what about Peter Safran? Well, the thing is, Peter Safran is not looking after the creative shepherding. He's looking after more of the business side. And by the way, Kevin Feige doesn't look after all the business stuff himself either. He's got several big name people that work with him that look after that stuff for him.
Plus, think about the business aspect of film in terms of where are we going to shoot? What are our tax credits going to be? Where around the world are we going to go? How many people are we're going to hire? What is our effects team going to be? And if you've got TV shows and movies in development, Peter Safran's phone is ringing 24/7. I can only imagine his call list of everybody he wants to call back by the end of the day. It's got to be huge, 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 huge.
But now ask John Campea, the film fan. Am I excited that James Gunn is going to write and direct the next super movie? Yes, very, very much. And I really hope they do find a way to make this whole thing work because I'm a fan. I'm like, if I didn't care, I wouldn't be worried about it. I'm only worried about it because I care. And so we'll see how this all kind of shakes out. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? David Zaslav's confirmed that James Gunn is going to write and direct the next super film. Do you like that? Do you not? Are you worried about him trying to split the jobs? What do you think a super family movie means? I think it's Superman and Supergirl. Do you think it could be Superman, Supergirl, and Superboy, and Crypto, and Steel, and whoever else? Whatever you guys think about all this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to say good day and let Robert Meyer Burnett go and see Weapons.
Weapons, and by the way, Dave Bautista has been cast in Highlander 2. I bet he's playing Kurgan.
Oh, is that now public?
Yeah, it's on Deadline. Right as we. All
right, that just came out
today, like minutes ago.
Do you remember that you and I knew that a year ago?
Yep.
If some of you guys might know that about a year ago, we were doing a show where we said we know something about the Highlander film, which hadn't really even gone into heavy development. But we can't say anything about it yet. Well, that was it.
Dave Bautista, and he's in Roadhouse 2.
Oh, I didn't know that
as
part.
The Kurgan?
As the Kurgan. Jake Gyllenhaal and Henry Cavill versus Dave Bautista.
We found a 500-year-old man to keep security in the bar.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I'd watch that. I'd watch that movie.
I would watch that too. All right. Hey, we'll talk about that tomorrow for sure. And about Weapons. All right, guys. With all that down, Jonathan, what do we got up first?
We got Rob the Knight. Post Rise of Skywalker, there have been 12 plus Star Wars series or specials released on Disney Plus, costing Disney roughly $1.7 billion to produce. How well does Mandalorian and Grogu really need to do for the IP?
Well, I mean, look. Everybody always looks so small picture. You have to look at it as the big picture. What this IP needs, like Star Wars as a whole, well, it needs to make $800 million. No, screw that, guys. That's so short-sighted. So many people are so short-sighted. Here's the thing. What does the IP need out of this? They need it to be really good. Because you know what? The IP as a whole, the big picture, doesn't benefit much if Mandalorian makes $800 million, but nobody liked it. You can't think about what does the IP need right now with this one project. Like, you can talk about what does it need financially when you're talking about the whole, but if you're talking about one individual project, It doesn't help the IP if this thing makes $700 million, but nobody likes it. That doesn't help the IP at all. I don't care how much money it makes. What the IP needs is for people to love going to see a Star Wars movie again. Now, I don't know if Mandalorian's the one to do it. I hope it is. But that's what it needs. Because here's the thing. What is much better for the IP is if Mandalorian and Grogu makes $475 million and people loved it. That is far better for the IP than if Mandalorian and Grogu makes $900 million, but people were meh. They need, and they would take $475 million, but everybody loves it because you have to think big picture. You have to think, what does this mean for the IP moving forward? How does this position the IP? So it doesn't matter how much money it makes. What really matters is this IP that is kind of in shambles right now, and or notwithstanding, what they really need to start winning everybody back. And they're kind of like in the same position that Superman was. All right, what's next?
We got Wyatt, hot take, but I much prefer the Clone Wars show, not the 03 one, over Andor, especially the last few seasons. It's still my favorite Star Wars content.
Okay, it's not a hot take. There's a lot of people who like Clone Wars.
I think it's great that we get both types of Star Wars.
Yeah. I am not a fan of it. I differ from a lot of my fellow Star Wars loving brethren. A lot of my Star Wars friends really love Clone Wars. And I've never thought it was all. It definitely had moments and certain little storylines that had that. I was never a big fan of it, to be honest with you. But that's just me. I'm in the minority. I'm absolutely in the minority on that. A lot of people love it. All right, what's next?
Dildar the Glorious says, say what you will about the prequels, but I think it's safe to say some of the music in Star Wars comes from the prequels, besides some of the best music, I should say. Besides Imperial March, I have Across the Stars is probably my favorite piece in the entire franchise.
Oh, no, listen, well, John Williams is John Williams, man.
Yeah,
John Williams is going to do John Williams things. No matter how garbagey the prequels were, there was some great music in it.
That's why I kept it in the save or kill. So just over the music.
Listen, Imperial March and the main Star Wars fanfare. And then it's Duel of the Fates. Duel of the Fates is like, I think, one of my absolute favorite pieces of movie music ever. Like you hear it, like I can't help but have the hair on my arm start to stand up. I can feel my blood rushing. It's great music, like no doubt about it, 100%. All right, what's next?
Raymond, with regard to your story on Apple suing Apple Cinemas, I did a little background check. There's no way Apple Cinemas will win this one. Apple incorporated in 1977, while Apple Cinemas incorporated in 2010. They should change their name. Copyright law.
You don't understand copyright law.
Yeah, it doesn't matter when you do that.
It doesn't, like just having the word Apple. Apple did not create the word Apple.
Then orchards are out of business.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. They are a completely different industry. Like for instance, that's like saying, well, there's two, very big outlets out there, Screen Crush and there's Screen Junkies. Well, they should sue each other. Well, no, you don't own the word screen. You don't own the word screen. So it's a little bit more complicated than that. Now, see, the main advantage that Apple has over Apple Cinemas is that Apple claims that they can demonstrably show that it is now starting to cause confusion in business dealings. That's a strong argument to make, but it's not because we use the word Apple first. It doesn't matter. You don't have a copyright on the word Apple, right? Or otherwise, grocery stores all over the world would have to change the name of that red fruit that everybody buys. It's called Skeekelplapt.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I'm going to, stop comparing Skeekelplaps to oranges.
One Skeekelplaps a day keeps the scrim away. Yeah,
or somebody in the lounge has said, can Apple sue Applebee's? Yeah, no, they can't. No, they can't. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Looks like Apple's back on the menu, boys. Sci-fi extremist with a 3-parter.
Nice little orc reference there. I like that.
Watched your movie trailer documentary. Was awesome. And one trailer I can say impacted me the most was Watchmen. I was 14, seeing The Dark Knight in IMAX, about to go into my freshman year of high school. Watched and Watchmen hit so hard that I remembered it when I got home, Googled it, which led me to discover the comic, and what a rabbit hole that led me down. At that point, I'd only read standard superhero stuff, and here was something more mature at a point in my life I could truly understand it. The 7 month leading up to that movie was special. Watched the trailer a ton, followed interviews, read the graphic novel back to back. I know people have mixed feelings on that movie, but for me, my experience, it's one of my favorite DC films and further increased my love for comics.
Yeah, listen, Watchmen, that was a very difficult nut to crack, man. That's a hard one to do. And I am one of those people that's pretty mixed on it. It seems like it's either you love it or hate it. I'm one of the people who I'm kind of in the middle. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. It definitely has its upside, but I'm not a big fan of it. But it was that's a difficult thing to do. I don't know if it could have been done much better. I really like the HBO Watchmen series, but that was original material they did later, that was supposed to happen years later. The Watchmen, as the way the Watchmen is a very tough translation. So not one of my favorites, but yeah, your story just kind of emphasizes the importance of trailers and what they can do for you, because it can set the whole tone. Anyway, thanks for sharing that, man. I appreciate that. All right, what's next?
Blake, how long do you think studios will continue to produce movies with similar budgets as 2015 or more with the new 2025 box office landscape? At some point, don't they have to recognize the new normal and stop placing their break-even point so high? They are.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's one thing if you're a Superman movie and your break-even point is $550 million.
And you got licensing.
Yeah, that's one thing. But in general, I've been saying for years that studios' spending is way out of control. And again, I think I said this yesterday, but whenever I bring that up, inevitably people say, well, John, why do you care what other people spend? It's not your money. Yes, it is. And it's your money too, because it's a systemic problem. When the studios spend that much more money, that means they need to make more money to justify that cost. How do they make more money? By passing the cost on to you. Just like tariffs. It ain't the companies who pay for it. Ultimately, it's you who pays for it and me that pays for it. And that's why the cost of movie tickets have increased 3 times faster than inflation. Because studios are just letting their spending get out of control, and they got to make that money back somehow. And since they can't get more people to go to the movies, they'll charge the ones that are going to the movies a higher price. And so it's a systemic problem. And yeah, and by the way, that's why that story we talked about the other day, Michael Mann is making Heat 2. Remember we talked about that the other day?
Yep.
But the studio, Warner Brothers, is saying no to his budget.
They even said no to 170.
Yeah. So he asked for $200 million to make the movie, and Warner Brothers said no. So he came back and said, okay, can I make the movie for $170 million? And again, they said no. And so I think studios are starting to recognize the problem and trying to start to reel it in, and we'll see if that holds.
I think they're going to have conversations with talent agents too, because the actor doesn't necessarily bring in the audience it used to.
No, it doesn't.
And when your actor is taking up 40% of a budget, that's a problem.
That's a big problem. Listen, I know a filmmaker, and I won't say who, and I won't say which movie it was for, but he had a movie that had Dwayne Johnson in it. I won't say who else, and I won't say the era or anything like that. And it's not even Dwayne Johnson's fault. Like, you're an actor, you get offered a certain amount of money, you say yes.
Yeah, of
right?
course, you're
it's
gonna
not the
take
actor's
it.
fault, but this filmmaker was furious how much they had to pay Dwayne Johnson, because it took up almost half the budget.
Not to mention the empty bottle budget.
That's another can of worms. They had to spend almost half the budget of the movie just on the actor. And hey, listen, did having Dwayne Johnson help their box office? It certainly did. But it really tied their hands on everything else they could do in their movie. Anyway, long and short of it is, Yeah, I don't think the big paycheck actors should be making as much as they do, and I don't think studios should be spending as much as they do. The spending's out of control. They got to get a handle on it.
I feel like at this point, The Rock he's a box office multivitamin, but he's not box office Viagra anymore.
He was.
Yeah.
He was at one point, but you're right. Now he's a good box office multivitamin.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Blake, follow-up question. Can you even make a huge MCU or Star Wars film for less than $200? Yes. Dollars in 2025. If you want to bring budgets down, where can you do that in a significant way without it impacting the quality of the movie? Thunderbolts was 180, so yes.
Yeah, listen. The main problem isn't just with the big tentpole movies. Again, you got something like Superman. It's understandable that you end up making a movie that where the break-even point's going to be like 650. It's like the movies as a whole. And if you're ever talking about like a true giant tentpole film, like an Avengers film, look, there's no way around that. You're going to have to spend a lot of money on it. I understand that, right? I'm not really complaining about that. It's the 80% of the other movies that get made.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, now granted, this was in other dollars, but Neil Blomkamp made District 9 a very visually heavy movie. What did he make it for? It was something. It was low. It was.
I'm gonna look here.
Let me check it up here. What was the budget for the movie District?
I got it.
9.
I got 30.
It was. I know it was right around that. Yeah, $30 million. That's what I got too. It made
Crazy.
District 9 for $30 million. Now, granted, today maybe that's $60 million. But the point is,
It's still cheap.
big movies are expensive. Okay, no one's arguing that. Big movies are really expensive. Nobody's arguing that either. Our argument is simply that a lot of studios are making them more expensive than they need to be. $190 million movie could have been done for 150.
Well,
that sort of thing.
and when you look at the bottom line, so let's say 30 million, it made 210. Now today we look at something that says, oh, it's 210, it's not that much. But if your movie costs 30, the bottom line is that's profit, baby.
Yeah.
That's good, even
Yeah.
after marketing.
Now, so again, we understand making movies is expensive. Making big movies is really expensive. It's just that you're making them more expensive than they need to be. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Adam with a $20 tip.
Oh, thank you, Adam. Appreciate that, man.
Hey, John, have you seen the Tom Brady soccer series built in Birmingham? I know you love Welcome to Wrexham, and it's a similar type show about community fans. It's on Prime. So far, so good. Didn't they feature him on a Wrexham?
Yeah, he was in. They featured him in Wrexham when Wrexham played Birmingham.
Yeah.
I have not. The thing about Birmingham is that Birmingham was a Champions League team. If I'm not mistaken, weren't they also a Premier League team at one point? I could be wrong about that.
I'd have to look that up.
Whereas Wrexham, the story of Wrexham to me is so much more interesting because it literally starts with them at the bottom in this little town, and in come Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds, good Canadian kid, and literally just fall in love with this town and take this little team with this little stadium and this small mining community town and like literally done something never done before in professional soccer. It's never happened in its ancient history. They got promotion back to back to back. It's never been done. And now you see this town, Wrexham, is flourishing with tourism and all this, like, to me, it's just a more compelling story. So I love Tom Brady. I'm not as interested in the Birmingham story as I was about Wrexham. But I haven't checked it out yet. No, maybe I will someday. All right, what's next?
We got Andino went to an Alien Earth screening last night and absolutely loved it. You'll love the visuals on your 100-inch TV. Feels cinematic. The world building is extraordinary. A lot of exposition with a little character development, but it was only the first episode.
Well, let me look this up. Alien Earth Rotten. Now, because we did a story on this last week, or earlier in the week, I should say, where the first reviews that started coming out for Alien Earth, and they were very good. As of right now, and I'll bring it up here on my screen, as of right now, it's got a 91%.
Yeah.
91%. And out of how many? Out of 44 reviews. And we went through them. That like Empire Magazine, stuff like so. Yeah, I am legitimately excited for this show, man. I can't wait to watch it. I'm super stoked for it. All right, what's next?
Dakota says, "Hey John, I think we all hate when shows take 2 to 3 years to come out with another 8 episodes. I was thinking, could it be the studio's way of hopefully keeping subscribers to keep paying while they wait? More time, or more wait time could mean people stick around. It's actually the exact opposite.
Jonathan's exactly right. It's actually the exact opposite. The wait time makes people churn. That's encouraging churning. It's one of the reasons the producer of the new hit show The Pit, which is amazing, by the way, is that an HBO Max show?
I want to say
The Pit?
it is.
I think it is. Anyway, that's one of the reasons that the producer of that said, we're going to put one season out a year of this because they're not going to make the audience wait and forget about it.
I'm getting Hulu.
It's Hulu. Okay. He's saying we don't want people to have to wait too long. Oh no, people are saying it's on Max.
Oh, sorry, because it links. Yeah, because the bundle thing. That's why I brought it up.
Oh, that's right.
It
the
is
bundle.
Max. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, like, because if you know, here's what people churn. They're just going to cancel the service and wait 2 years until the new season comes out. The more frequently you can make these shows, the less likely people are to churn. And then it's even better if you have bundles. So anyway, yeah, the actual opposite is true. All right, what's next?
Nick, Fantastic Four release. Excuse me, Fantastic Four released in 2005. Fantastic released in 2015. Fantastic Four's First Steps released in 2025. So by this logic, the next FF reboot should come out in 2035.
Yeah, somebody else wrote that in the a few days ago about like we are getting a reboot every 10 years. I mean, listen, I am amazed at how good this movie is. I really am. I'm especially amazed at how well it seems to be doing, and it's not blowing up the box office, but the fact that we've had so many renditions of Fantastic Four, and they've all been bad. And Fantastic Four is one of the oldest comics, and they haven't really been socially relevant for a long time. Like Marvel itself even canceled their comic book for a while. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of an interesting thing, but man, tip of the hat to Matt Shakman. He made a great movie, and I'm probably going to see it for a 4th time. All right, what's next?
Cosmo Nerd Keith. Hey, John and crew, thanks for taking my question. What are your guys' thoughts about Shaq joining as the 3rd CEO of DC? Does he have the control to greenlight movies? Is he interested in? Think he will get Steel again in this new DC universe?
What are we talking about?
Does Shaq have I don't think he's a CEO, but does Shaq have ownership now in DC Studios? He may have gone in as an investor, but I don't know.
Well, no, nobody owns DC Studios except Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is the 100%.
No, I mean Warner Brothers is an investor or something, but I mean,
no, just no. That's no.
No. There must have been a rumor that they got a hold of.
All right, what's next?
D-Rock, U2 Baby says, hey, John, enjoying watching your show. Been watching your show since 2013.
Thank you so much, man.
In the domestic box office, looks like Superman is neck and neck with Jurassic Park or Jurassic World. Do you think it will pass Jurassic World in the domestic box office? It has, by like 18 million.
Has Superman beat? Like, that's wild when you consider that Jurassic World is like over 750 million worldwide.
It's at 320, 310. So 310 million. So 18,000, sorry, but 320, 310, and Jurassic World is 322.92.
So it's already passed it.
Yeah, by $18,000.
Right. So, yeah, there you go. It did. That's amazing. Again, it just kind of shows that internationally, outside of the North American box office, dinosaurs still have big appeal. And, you know, again, we brought this up before the movie ever came out, that one of our worries about internationally was that despite the fact that he was created by a Canadian, Superman, I don't know if other than Captain America, I don't know that there's a superhero more synonymous with America. And right now the world kind of is. America isn't the world's favorite neighbor right now. So I don't know how much that hurt or if it did or didn't, but that's kind of amazing that it's beating Jurassic in the domestic box office. I didn't realize that. All right, what's next?
Alex says, hi, y'all. What's your favorite performance in movie from Donald Sutherland? Saw a clip of the Good Canadian Kid from one of your Hunger Games movies. I'm thinking about watching them because of him. Oh, you should.
MASH.
The movie.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Yeah, the movie MASH.
Yeah.
Where he was the original
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Um,
More serious tone than the series.
yes. Still fun.
Yeah.
What's another great Donald Sutherland one?
I love him in Ordinary People. He wasn't the lead, but
Did he win an Oscar for Ordinary People?
maybe as a supporting actor.
I can't remember
But if
exactly.
you guys have not seen Ordinary People, it's really good.
And of course, Donald Sutherland, by the way, good Canadian kid, father of Kiefer Sutherland.
Also Canadian because he was
also-
born. He was
yeah.
born there.
Yeah, good fan. But yeah, I go back to MASH for that one. Good question. All right, what's next?
Dennis, hi John. My brother and I bet $10 on the Rotten Tomato critic score for Mortal Kombat 2 after opening weekend. The first film is at 55%. I'm taking the over. He's taking the under. John, are you taking the over or under based on the current marketing material?
Well, again, listen, it's very difficult based on marketing material, right? Because I've seen trailers to movies where I thought the trailers looked spectacular and the movie sucked. I'm going to go on the over, only because of this. From the marketing material, and it's not because the trailer's good, and the trailer is good, but it's not because the trailer's good. Because a lot of good trailers have terrible, terrible movies. But rather, the trailers seem to suggest, and we talked about this on the show before, to me, the trailers seem to suggest that the producers and filmmakers learned the lessons that needed to be learned from the mistakes they made in the first one. That was my overall impression of the trailer for this, is that it really feels like they realized we made mistakes doing this, and this, the first one, and we're going to correct those here. And that's what the trailer felt like. If they can do that with the movie as a whole, I'll take the over. I could be way wrong, but I'm going to take the over with you. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Anthony who says business writer Charles Gasparino wrote last week that while Hollywood creatives are still annoyed with Zaslav, Wall Street loves him. But who do you think is doing a better job currently as an entertainment head, Zaslav or Iger?
Oh, man. I mean, there's a similar situation with them in the fact that Iger, they had to beg Iger to come back to fix the damage that Bob Chapek did. And Zaslav took over Warner Brothers from AT&T when Warner Brothers had literally just obliterated it, just destroyed Warner Brothers. It's very difficult to say. I mean, because ultimately their tasks are very different. Remember, Bob Iger is not just the head of a movie studio. Bob Iger is the head of a global multinational corporation that has its hand in a lot of different pots, including theme parks, cruises, user experiences, like all this stuff that David Zaslav does not do. So it's difficult to say. Like on the Bob Iger side of things, you look at it and say, wow, well, product is now improving, right? Daredevil Born Again ended up being really good. Thunderbolts was great. Fantastic Four is great. So you're seeing product is now better, but they got a long way to go. David Zaslav is clearly now turning things around, but they got a long way to go. So but both of them have very unique, different jobs. So it's really hard for me to say. All right, what's next?
Okay. Anonymous. All theaters have pre-opened starting at 2:17 today for Weapons. That was a directive that came from Warner Brothers. That's the time they're allowed to start. The Regal Valencia 12, right by Magic Mountain, I was just there a couple weeks ago, is playing an IMAX show at 2:17 a.m. tomorrow night.
Okay, first of all, let me be very clear about this. Studios get no fucking say as to what time the movie theater decides to play its movie. They can request.
Are they going to pay staff? I mean, you can't force it.
like just be very, very clear about that. Like Warner Brothers does not get to dictate to Regal. They do not get to dictate to AMC. They do not get to dictate to Cinemark what time they are going to play their movies in their theaters. What they can do, and what they did do, is pitch to them, hey, our big thing in the marketing is at 2:17 a.m. the thing. Why not, instead of starting at 2:17 or at 2:15 or at 2 or at 2:30, what say we make the actual start time 2:17? And it's a great marketing idea. It's a great idea. I love it. I think it's the coolest thing. And the theaters recognize that and say, yeah, let's do that. Let's get on board. But yeah, make no mistake that Disney doesn't get to call AMC theaters and say, hey, play Lilo and Stitch at 4:21 a.m. Oh, yes, Disney. We'll do. No. They're going to go. That's what the theaters are going to do. So just they pitched it. It's a great idea, and the theaters recognize it's a great idea, and I love that they're doing it. But it's not like, oh, the theaters had no choice because Warner Brothers said they had to start it at 2. That's not the way it works. All right, what's next?
Okay, Swanson Burgundy says, probably can't answer off the top of your head. A tip yesterday mentioned 2001 Space Odyssey. I wouldn't put it in my top 20 movies, but HAL 9000, which, fun fact, I often name my computers that, is one of my favorite movie villains.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Are any of your favorite characters from movies not in your top movies list?
Oh,
that's
a great question.
If you're going to say like top 100, no, but like if you're going to say top 10, I would say Hans Gruber, because I love Die Hard. It is not in my top 10 of all film ever made.
No, but Gruber is a top 3 or 4 greatest screen villain ever, I think.
Yeah.
I think he's right. Like him, he's up there with Darth Vader. Like he's one of that's a great one. You know what? It's a wonderful question, but you're right. It's really hard to pick that off the top of my head. I'd have to really think about it. But yeah, I mean, you guys in the live chat, throw in some names of like some of your favorite all-time characters that aren't necessarily from your favorite all-time movies. That's a great question. But yeah, Hans Gruber is a perfect answer. All right, what's next?
Joseph, good day, John and crew. With Disney announcing the merging of Hulu into Disney Plus, I get the reduced tech cost, but why not keep Hulu independent as a repository for the rated R Fox catalog while preserving Disney Plus? Well, it's already sort of merged. You still have access to that stuff on Disney Plus. There's just got, they're like parental guidelines you can set.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Once Deadpool and Wolverine was on Disney Plus, that whole family friendly thing is out the window. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. You can't have Deadpool and Wolverine. So like, what are you going to move Deadpool and Wolverine out of the Marvel section on Disney Plus and put it onto Hulu?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. They think the benefit is higher. They get more benefit from merging that content in and putting it all into one place, than they would trying to keep it separate. And it's just, it's a cost analysis thing, right? What's our return on investment? What's the benefits of keeping it separate versus what's it costing us keeping it separate? Then what's the benefit of us merging them, and what's the cost of us merging them? And the ROI equation works out more positively merging it in. So, and again, like the Disney Plus app itself just being a pure family friendly place, that's done. That's gone. Regardless of whether they merged Hulu into it or not, it's gone. And whatever it is can easily be fixed with some parental controls. So yeah, there's that. All right, what's next?
Mr. I says, earlier someone asked, what does Mando and Grogu have to make financially? And you went off on a small picture tangent. You said, what does Star Wars need? Immediately in the back of my head, I heard Jack Nicholson's Joker say, an enema. What is this? This town needs an enema.
This town needs an enema. Which is kind of what Star Wars does indeed need.
Yeah.
A little bit right now. And yeah, again, this is going, remember, Mandalorian Grogu is going to be the first film in 6 years, 7 by the time it comes out, is going to be the first Star Wars theatrically released film in 7 years. What do they need from it? They need for it to make an impression. Far more than how much money they needed to make at the box office. Far more. They need to make an impression. And signal to the fan base and to moviegoers, we're back. We've corrected the mistakes we've been making. We've readjusted. We've realigned. We fine-tuned. We're better now than we were 7 years ago. That's what they need to come out of this. Anyway. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got some member questions here. We got Joe. Hey, John and crew. Hope your day is going great. Was hoping you would be doing an after show for Alien Earth after it starts. Let's talk about it. Thanks for being on Filthy. You think you'll have a big enough audience for it?
Mate, what's the release date?
I gotta look again. It's August. I want to say 12th or something.
I know
like
it's
that.
soon. Like, I think it's within the week. Yeah, an after show for that. Maybe
August 12th.
August 12th. So it's
coming up.
5 days
Yeah.
from now.
Yeah.
Maybe. Let me think on that a little bit. Maybe I'll ask our channel members what they think about it in a poll later on, see what they think. Anyway, it's an interesting idea. All right, what's
All
next?
right, we got Matt says hello. Wrong one. Matt says hello. Hey, John and crew, here's a scenario. You have been made head of Sony, and your goal is to make Spider-Man Brand New Day a $2 billion movie. You have unlimited funds. Well, then, come on. And the rights to any Marvel character you like. What do you do?
Bring that question. Let me read that question again.
I mean, if you have unlimited money, you can just bring
yeah,
the
hey, John,
Avengers.
you have made that you make Spider-Man New Day, a $2 billion movie. You have unlimited funds and the rights to any Marvel character you like. What do you do? Well, I mean, number one, you have to understand, while it is Sony's character and it is Sony's movie because they are the distributor, Marvel is the production company. Sony isn't making the movie. Marvel's making it. Now, then, once the movie's done, Marvel will take the movie, put it on a platter, and hand it over to you as Sony to do with as you please. Your theatrical run, where it's going to go on streaming, all that kind of stuff. But it's still, I understand the question. I'm put in charge. Has to be a $2 billion film, and I have an unlimited budget. See, I'm fighting between what will make money and what I think will actually make a good movie. Yeah, fuck it. I do Patton Oswalt's thing, and I bring in Star Wars. I bring in Star Wars. A portal opens and Luke Skywalker walks through and goes, "What is this strange place?" And then Spider-Man goes into their world and they're fighting the Empire, and Boba Fett shows up and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's a $2 billion film. No one will ever watch another movie I produce again. They'll never believe I could, because it's not going to be good. But yeah, there you go. Cross it with Star Wars.
Boom.
All right, what's next?
We got Brennan, who says, hey, John and crew, with talks of Mr. Negative being in Spider-Man Brand New Day, do you think he'll use his abilities to bring out the worst in Bruce Banner, reactivating Savage Hulk? P.S. I also really enjoyed movie trailers, a love story. Thanks for sharing it.
Oh, thank you for that, man. I appreciate that. For the record, and again, I have no insider information on this. I'm not saying this is fact. This is just me as an average movie fan speculating, okay? I don't believe the Mr. Negative thing. I don't. Now, again, I'm not saying that this is the truth. No, I'm just, from what I'm seeing and whatever, I don't believe it. Could turn out to be true. I don't think they're going to go in that direction. I really don't. We'll find out that watch tomorrow. Variety headlines it, but for now, I don't think it's actually going to happen. All right, what's next?
We got, if you could pick one DCEU character that you would like to see transferred over to the DCU that hasn't already been confirmed, who would it be? For me, it would be Pierce Brosnan's Dr. Fate.
Ooh, you know what?
I'd even take Hawkman, because I loved Hawkman in that.
Hawkman was great in it. You obviously can't take. Wasn't Dora the Explorer also?
She was a Tornado Girl.
She was Wind Girl. I called her. I can't remember her name, but yeah, Wind Girl. Was that her? I thought it was her. I could be wrong about that.
So, but I have to look it up again.
Yeah, people in the live chat, help me out. Was that her? Did she play Breezy Girl in the Justice Society in the Black Adam movie?
Wind in the Willow?
People saying no, it wasn't her. Okay, good. That's fine then. Let's see. Who would I bring over? I mean, before seeing David Cornsweat's new Superman, I would have said Henry Cavill. But this new Superman is a better fit for this new DCU. So there's that. Man, Pierce Brosnan is Dr. Fate. That's a good one. That's a really good. Definitely no on Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Definitely a no on that. I'd be tempted to say the kid Sholo, the kid from Blue Beetle.
I lean towards that. I mean, he's quasi.
But the movie didn't do. I mean, the movie flopped.
Yeah, but
so that
I don't think it was his
fault.
Up. But
somebody else just mentioned in the live Batflick. Ben Affleck is Batman. I love Ben Affleck as Batman. And I make no apologies for that. I love him as Batman.
Yeah, but now all I can hear him is speaking like the accountant. So, because I just watched The Accountant too.
Yeah. Oh God, I love The Accountant too. I had so much fun in that movie. Some people are saying Margot Robbie, but I think it might be time for a new Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know that they're going to do Harley Quinn for a while.
She'd be
but
so
we'll see.
expensive for the roles that they would give.
Yeah,
anyway.
especially after Barbie.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna go with what you said, John. Yeah, Dr. Fate. Yeah, Dr. Fate.
They were my favorite part of Black Adam.
That makes the most sense, I think. All right. Last question of the day.
Okay, we got this is kind of funny. Sci-Fi Extremist says, my son has discovered the Wilhelm scream and won't stop laughing at it. I never knew it had a name, but is there an origin for it? Yes, there is.
There is, and I can't remember I've heard what it was before.
I believe it was from
everything.
I believe it was used in an old Western movie, and their cavalry going down a troop going down the thing, and he gets hit with a bow and arrow.
The genesis of it?
And he screams that Wilhelm scream, falls off the horse, and it's been used ever since.
And it's been used ever since.
And I think the scream was done in ADR because they weren't getting, the sound from that area.
Let me just look something up. How many movies has used the Wilhelm scream?
I used to think as a kid it was just a Star Wars thing until I got older and saw it in more things.
They estimate it's been used in over 400 movies. My guess it would be more than that. My guess is that it's in more than that. I think there are a lot of filmmakers who just make it a point in their head that it's I got to drop this in there because it's like a rite of passage. But it is, yeah, like you recognize it now when it comes along.
I think that was from that shot right there.
Yeah,
it's like an old Western.
All right, guys, and that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Big thanks, of course, to Robert Meyer Burnett, who should be getting ready to go see Weapons. I am going to go see Weapons in about an hour and a half.
Nice.
I'm very excited about that. Thank you to our technical producer, Jonathan Voico.
Yeah, quick fact, it was 1951's Distant Drums, and he got taken underwater by an alligator, and that's where it came from.
And that's where the scream came from. Now, everybody's going to go look that up. And, of course, big thank you to all of you for making our show part of your day. We can't do it without you. We're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Again, keep your guys' eyes open on the channel a little bit later tonight for when I put up my out-of-theater reaction to Weapons. Hopefully, I'll like it. We'll see. Anyway, that'll do it for us, guys. My name's John Campea. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.